Hello. Now we're going to talk about evaluating information. This is a very important step of the research process to make sure you're using high quality information and that you're using information appropriately in your paper. So first I'm going to show you a few of the resources on this tab. I have a couple of checklists here that are really good to get you used to thinking critically about what you're reading. Just because it's in print doesn't mean it's true. So ask these questions, and especially if it's an experiment or a research project, look at this, A Rough Guide to Spotting Bad Science. It will go over some of the most common ways that a study can be put together in a way that does not yield the best information. And then this video from the Oklahoma State Libraries provides a very thought-provoking question on who do you trust and why. So that is a very interesting video. Now, evaluation is not to see whether a source is good or bad. It's more like picking out a kitchen knife. So steak knives and butter knives, neither one is good or bad, but they both have different uses, right? You wouldn't use a butter knife to cut a steak or a steak knife to put butter on your bread. So just like kitchen knives, information isn't always good or bad, but it can be used for different purposes. So the first thing that I want to point out is that some articles are peer-reviewed, and how you can tell if an article is peer-reviewed is look at the source. For this will be the journal name, and then go ahead and search that source in Google. We want to look for the journal's homepage online. And then I will look through here, probably under the About the Journal, and I want to know if this article is peer-reviewed, or if this journal is peer-reviewed. So here it talks about their peer review process, and so I would read about that and see, are they selecting experts in the field? Are they devoting the correct amount of time to peer review? Peer review can't be done in 3 days. It takes time. And so I can find out about the quality of the information that this journal produces. I can also find out some about their reputation. Have they been around a long time, or are they new? What are their goals and their purposes? And all of this can help me decide how am I going to use the information from that journal. Now, if you're not familiar with what peer-reviewed is, that is when a panel of experts reads an article and figures out if it's quality information, and if it's not, they send it back before it's published for the original author to revise, and then either get published or not, depending on if it passes peer review. So another part of evaluating information is to see how you can use that information. So this is one study. It's a case study, which means it has a very limited population size, and it finds that information literacy does increase retention. So what this article can do is be an example of a study that showed a positive correlation between information literacy skills and retention, and it can provide ideas for methods that could be used to retest their hypothesis. And it can provide references to other articles on this topic. This article will have a citation list, just like your article will in the end, and I can look up those other citations and find other articles on this topic. Now, what this article cannot do is prove that information literacy increases retention, and that is because it is only one study, and it is a study with a small population size. It's a case study. And so that is one of the things on this Spotting Bad Science is not having a proper sample size that can be generalized to the whole population. Now, that wasn't what they were going for with this because it was a case study. But since their study had a small population size, I can't use it to say conclusively that information literacy improves retention. So let's do the same thing with the website. This is an Information Literacy Advisory Group of Oregon. And so what I can use this website for is look at these references. They have gathered articles for me on my topic and then kind of provided a summary. So I can definitely use this website to find these references and find more articles on my topic. Now, since this is from an information literacy group, what I cannot do is depend on this website for unbiased information. So I will keep in mind as I'm looking at these articles that it's very likely that all of these articles show positive correlations. And then so I would need to go out and find some articles that found negative correlations if this is a controversial topic. Okay, that is everything that I have for you about evaluating articles, and as always, feel free to reach out if you need help.